So without further ado, David, take it away.
All right, let's get started here. So let me bring my notes up so I can do that. But good morning. I'm David Johnson, Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at the Fulcrum Group. And today I'm going to chat with you about what's new in cybersecurity, especially in the local government space. So let's go ahead and get started. So a little bit about our agenda today. First off, we're going to give you a quick background of who the Fulcrum Group is and our cybersecurity expertise. Then we'll discuss what's at risk for local government agencies and some of the top concerns around cybersecurity for city managers and IT managers. And then we'll discuss some best practices. And lastly, we'll wrap it up with some Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. So the Fulcrum Group has been in business for 23 years, and we've long supported local government agencies throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area with our Spot managed IT services and our Spot Shield managed cybersecurity services. You can see some of the awards that we've won over the last few years. We were just recently announced into the MSP 500 for 2025, which is an awesome recognition of the work that our team has been doing. So let's go ahead and jump into the meat of the presentation. Can we agree that nobody wants to be this guy? Having to stand up in front of your constituents and explain why you've had your second major cyber incident in less than 2 years. So, and I could roll out lots of other stories, cybersecurity horror stories. City of Dallas comes to mind, but there's lots of other agencies that have been hit as well. But just remember, you don't want to be this guy. So now let's talk a little bit about what's at risk when it comes to local government agencies. Cybersecurity risk has increased exponentially over the past few years. Cyber criminals know that they can operate, pretty much without impunity, as the international laws just haven't caught up, right? So if they're overseas, they get into your network, they can do what they want to do, and there's really very little that can be done to stop them. So we've got to be more proactive. So, but starting with the data and applications, public safety has the most data, especially when you add in body cam footage. It's also the most sensitive data as well. Courts and utilities represent huge revenue sources for local government. So when those systems are down, revenue collection is halted. Becoming a victim of a cyber attack can also result in the loss of reputation or even a loss of the public's confidence in the local government agency's leadership if data and systems can't be recovered quickly. Cyber attacks also put leadership jobs at risk. Another area of high risk is utilities and critical infrastructure. Imagine if water, gas, or electricity can't be delivered safely to residents because of a cyber attack. Technologies such as IoT, Internet of Things, which make managing critical infrastructure more efficient, are becoming attack vectors for cyber criminals as well. The cost of recovery continues to increase as well. The financial risk is significant and increasing. Technology updates, legal fees, breach notification, recovering systems, cyber forensic investigations, and other costs can easily exceed hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single breach. Now I want to talk a little bit more about, I call this slide the anatomy of a cyber attack. But really the big thing that we're seeing is that, cyber criminals are, they're getting a lot more sophisticated. They're using AI. They're becoming more patient. And they're proving to us that they are willing to go to multiple levels of extortion to get paid. So for example, if a cyber criminal gains a foothold in your network, through a user clicking on a phishing email or somebody's credentials are compromised on the dark web, once they gain that foothold, they can come and go as they please. They'll patiently exfiltrate your data, looking for information such as your cyber insurance coverage, maybe a list of your clients or your vendors, and any other information that they can use to potentially extort you. And they can take weeks or even months to complete all of that. And only then, after they've disabled your antivirus endpoint protection software, after they've deleted your backups, then they give you the ransomware attack, right? So they unleash that on your environment and make the initial ransom demand. And then, if you don't pay up, they're going to hit you with multiple levels of extortion. They might contact your clients, they might contact your vendors. We've even heard of scenarios in which they've threatened physical violence against leadership. So for the cyber criminal, it's all about getting paid. So now let's talk a little bit about the top cybersecurity challenges for city managers. So city and town managers and administrators have many challenges when it comes to cybersecurity, some of which are unique to local government. Um, when looking at internal IT, it's not fair to look for them to be cybersecurity experts. In the world of day-to-day IT operations, there are many hats to wear, such as end user support, network management, vendor management, IT budgeting and planning, amongst others. And that's all before you get to cybersecurity. Wearing many hats makes it difficult to develop the detailed cybersecurity skills needed to protect an organization. Third-party IT outsourcing and MSPs may be better equipped to handle cybersecurity, but typically managed IT outsourcing contracts only include essential cybersecurity, such as the Windows patching, the endpoint protection, but more comprehensive cybersecurity solutions aren't usually included unless you pay more or might even require a third-party managed security services provider. So when it comes to your actual cybersecurity, your end users are still the greatest weakness. They're still susceptible to phishing attacks, social engineering attacks. They use the same password everywhere, and their credentials get compromised on the dark web. They accidentally send data out to people through email or other ways. And so at the end of the day, the best cybersecurity in the world can be defeated by an end user clicking on a phishing email. We've had many discussions with local government leaders over the last few years, and we hear a common refrain: cybersecurity is the responsibility of IT. And this is a dangerous mindset, as cybersecurity efforts have the most success when local government leadership leads the charge. We're starting to see a change in this, primarily due to the increasing risk. Another big challenge is related to the increase in IoT devices. So we're seeing all types of IoT devices being added to the network. Everything from IP surveillance cameras to door access controllers, thermostats, audio-visual systems, you know, council chamber technology, and lots of other things. So, without the proper security in place, these devices can provide an easy attack vector into your networks for cyber attackers. And last but not least, many local government agencies lack much in the way of IT and cybersecurity policies and procedures, and the few policies that exist are often not followed or enforced. And that has a impact on the things that are changing in compliance regulations. So, and we'll talk some more about that in the next presentation. For city and town leadership, cybersecurity is really all about risk management. Leadership can elect a combination of strategies to avoid risk, transfer risk, reduce risk, and accept risk. The key is to understand what your cybersecurity risk is and the steps you can take to mitigate it. Now let's take a look at our top 5 cybersecurity concerns for IT managers. So now we're going to dive into some more of the technical details. Unlike the past, cyber criminals are no longer satisfied with just encrypting your data via ransomware. They gain access through to your data through one of these 3 key paths. Then study your data, exfiltrate your data, and use your data against you. The cyber attack against the city of Dallas spent about a month inside the city of Dallas's network undetected doing reconnaissance before launching their ransomware attack. The city of Dallas has spent at least $8 million recovering from that attack, and over 30,000 residents, employees, and other individuals were affected by the breach. In the most recent Verizon data breach investigations report, the researchers identified the 3 key paths to your data. In other words, the most common ways that cyber attackers gain access to your data. New this year is the miscellaneous errors, intrusions, and social engineering, representing 78% of breaches in the government space. This could be things like misdelivery of information to the wrong recipient through email or other methods. Employee errors also factor highly in this, as they are responsible for a very high percentage of cyber attacks through clicking on phishing emails and falling for other types of social engineering. Threat actors are actually made up of a higher percentage of internal users than external cyber criminals. Internal users are often careless, with errors accounting for the majority of breaches. Cyber criminals are mostly motivated by financial gain, while nation-state attackers are more motivated by espionage.
For those of you that have just joined us in the last 5 to 10 minutes, feel free to jump into chat if any of this content. If you have any questions, feel free to jump in and we'll answer it at the end of the presentations.
Okay, let's keep going. Number 2 on the list for concerns for IT managers is malware. And some people would probably say this would be number 1, but if you can block the 3 paths to your data, you'll significantly reduce your ransomware and malware risk. Until then, ransomware is still a major concern. And we've got supply chain breaches that have become a huge threat to organizations all around the world. Compromising a key vendor or partner can lead to ransomware attacks up and down the supply chain. Multiple extortion strategies and ransomware grew across the different stages of ransomware. So, and that's just the ability to combine traditional encryption of the victim's files and then exfiltrating out that data and using it against the victim. Cyber criminals have become a lot more brazen as well, calling customers, vendors, and even U.S. government agencies to report that an organization was attacked by them. And finally, it's important to note that some nation-state attackers have decided to skip the extortion and simply keep their remote access, possibly learning secrets that could lead to larger attacks down the road. All right, number 3, this is probably the part that's the most important to our IT managers, is making sure that we've got the basics down, right? So, IT managers should really, make sure they're looking objectively at their internal staff, the staffing levels, the skills, and asking themselves the tough question: do I have enough staff and the right skills on my team to properly manage the cybersecurity posture of my city or town? If the answer is no or not sure, you can start reaching out to MSSPs like the Fulcrum Group to understand what managed cybersecurity options might be best for your organization. and what the cost for those services will be so that you can get them added to your budget. If you're already outsourced to an MSP, you should be asking what managed cybersecurity offerings they provide as additional protections. One thing that has gotten to the point now where it's a standard is that traditional antivirus is no longer enough to protect your computers from malware. A true endpoint detection and response solution is really the minimum today. If you don't have something like SentinelOne or CrowdStrike or one of the other EDR solutions, reach out to us and we can help you understand what those options are. Making sure that you have an end user security awareness training program that's compliant with Texas laws, also should be CJIS compliant, and includes phishing simulations and dark web monitoring. And it's not enough to have these programs. You need to make sure that you've got the reporting in place to know that your users are completing the annual training. There may be other training available to them on a regular basis. Make sure that they're staying aware of the latest threats. And it's hard to know what your cybersecurity needs are until you complete a baseline risk assessment. You can improve your cybersecurity posture when you know where you currently stand, right? So get that baseline in place and then try to improve it from there. And don't forget to create an incident response plan so that if you do have a cybersecurity incident, you'll have a plan on how to respond. You can utilize resources from the TML to create your incident response plan before you need it. And one thing that we see commonly is that internal IT for local government rarely has the tools implemented for automated IT discovery. A basic tenet of cybersecurity is that you can only secure what you know about. So having automated IT inventories help your IT team spend more time driving the organization forward instead of tracking laptop inventory in a spreadsheet. And finally, we're here now, where MFA is no longer considered advanced cybersecurity. It's a basic requirement for all organizations now. If you haven't done it, now's the time. It's the single thing that you can do to improve your cybersecurity posture the most. All right, let's go to number 4. So most local government agencies have moved their email to the Microsoft 365 Office Cloud. And now they're using Teams for critical communications. They've moved their file shares up to the SharePoint cloud. And many would say that Microsoft 365 may be the most critical IT system for local government. So when's the last time you did a cybersecurity review of your Microsoft Office 365 tenant or reviewed your licensing? Do you have monitoring in place for critical items such as forwarding rules or logins from outside the country? Are you backing up your Microsoft 365 data? Microsoft makes sure your data is highly available, but does not back up your data. Put a 3 in the chat if you are backing up your data, Microsoft 365 data through a third party. All right, let's keep going. Number 5 on the list is a new one, and that's the SOC MDR. And SOC stands for Security Operations Center, and MDR stands for Managed Detection and Response. But basically, it's 24/7 cybersecurity monitoring, and it's a method to stop cyber incidents in their tracks. So if a user clicks on a phishing email or there's some other way that a cyber attacker gets in, a SOC MDR can help find those situations and help block those and remove those hackers and criminals from your environment. So, and the good news is that a SOC MDR is going to monitor both your local environment and your Microsoft 365 cloud. So it gives you the ability to stop cyber criminals before they establish a foothold in your environment. And it includes detection and response to cyber incidents 24/7. So, and one of the things that we'll discuss in part two of our presentation on compliance is that SOC MDR can also help you meet the new CGIS compliance regulations. So that's some exciting stuff there. And here's a bonus, a tip for you here, a bonus cybersecurity concern. So not protecting all of your data is something that we see quite often. And we usually find out that city leadership has had no discussions with IT about the city's requirements for recovery time objective. In other words, how long can you afford to be down? And your recovery point objective, how much data can you afford to lose? We also commonly find out that all systems are not backed up, especially Microsoft 365 data. And occasionally we run across government agencies that aren't even sending a copy of their backups offsite at all, leaving them with no disaster recovery. Boom. It's a cyber attack. So, and a cyber event, a breach, loss of data, left a boom and right a boom are military terms, and they refer to the military's efforts to disrupt insurgent cells before they can build and plant bombs. The good news is that there are a lot of local government agencies out there, and cybersecurity best practices have been established. The bad news, of course, is that cybersecurity isn't cheap. It's not just a one-time expense, and it requires time and effort across your organization, from leadership to IT, all the way down to your end users. Before you can build a cybersecurity program, you need to understand your organizational risks. Starting with a baseline risk assessment helps you understand what are your most critical assets, so you can focus your limited cybersecurity budget. Your next step will be to develop policies based on a cybersecurity framework such as NIST or CIS. And now you're ready for the cybersecurity basics. Every local government agency should have all of these basics, no exceptions. So they should have a Windows patching system that includes the reporting capabilities, a centrally managed endpoint protection with the EDR functionality. That's the endpoint detection and response. That's a big part of stopping cyber attacks. It's critical to have a process to regularly review user and admin credentials to ensure that users that are no longer with the organization have had their credentials disabled or deleted, and to look for new or unused admin credentials that can also be disabled or deleted. End user security awareness training. We talked about that earlier. And if your firewall is older than 3 years old, it's likely missing some of the more advanced cybersecurity capabilities, such as cloud sandboxing. And if you have a police department, you'll need a firewall that is FIPS compliant. We'll talk some more about that in the next presentation. Mobile devices such as laptops and tablets should have their storage encrypted, so that if they are lost or stolen, the data on those devices can't be accessed. You'll need a good asset tracking system with detailed reporting. That can help not only with cybersecurity, but also can help with IT budgeting. And reminder that we have the #1 way to reduce email attacks is to implement MFA, multi-factor authentication. We highly recommend it not only for email, but also protect your Windows login as well as your cloud applications. So the left of boom, these are the things that you can do to protect yourself before an attack, right? So thinking of some of the advanced cybersecurity systems that are out there, such as zero trust architecture. It's a strategy that operates on the principle of never trust, always verify. In simple terms, it means that no one and nothing is trusted by default, even if they're inside an organization's network. Zero trust works better in a cloud and remote work scenario than traditional cybersecurity concepts. And zero trust is really more of a concept and a journey and not really a specific product. So, and here's something that a lot of local government agency leadership may not know about, but most government agencies don't have 24/7 cybersecurity monitoring, mostly because of a lack of knowledge and a lack of budget. SOC, MDR, Managed Detection and Response, SOC as a service, is a ability to monitor your environments for cybersecurity events 24/7. They also include the ability to detect and block potential cyber attacks early and limiting the impact of those. Managed cybersecurity services through an MSSP, such as the Fulcrum Group, can fill in the cybersecurity gaps that your internal team may not have the time or the skills to handle. If your local government agency doesn't provide smartphones to end users, you might want to consider using MFA tokens as the additional factor instead of allowing users to use their personally owned smartphones with an authenticator app. Does your local government agency have a third-party audit your accounting? Think of penetration testing and vulnerability assessments as an audit for your cybersecurity posture. If you're still on legacy Office 365 subscriptions, you're missing out on some of the advanced cybersecurity features of Microsoft 365 Business Premium and E3 subscriptions. And now that Microsoft 365 is such a critical part of your environment, it makes sense to protect it with cybersecurity monitoring and backup solutions. Another great way to help your users is to get a centralized password manager. It can make your passwords more secure, but it also can save each user approximately 40 work hours per year in time saved by automatically entering and changing passwords for users. So now that we're talking, we've got the boom, right? That's the event. Now we're going to talk about right a boom. What happens afterwards, right? Uh, so the main thing that we always tell people is don't panic. It can be an overwhelming experience having a cyber attack. You've got computers that are infected. You've got data theft. You've got user disruption. The extortion's going on. There's outages. And these can be some of the darkest days for an organization and will require decisive actions that can have a direct impact on your organization's ability to recover essential government functions in an expedited manner. So when there is a boom, that cyber event, whether it's a breach, data loss or leakage, ransomware or other malware, your existing cybersecurity system should help control and stop the damage. If your firewall has intrusion detection, it might insert an IP block to stop an attack. Your endpoint protection may limit the spread of malware, and other tools might help out as well. And of course, right a boom, after you become aware of the cyber incident, the first thing that must be done is to isolate the infection. Take infected PCs offline, servers, whatever the devices are, make sure they're offline. You might also have to disconnect your internet connection to limit the amount of data that a cyber attacker might steal. Make sure you don't panic and invoke your incident response plan. Even though the immediate thought is to fix and get systems up and running ASAP after a cyber incident, it's important to slow down and make sure you don't destroy valuable forensic data. So you must contain the incident and isolate infected systems by removing them from the network. And unless you have extensive cybersecurity expertise on staff, we suggest hiring a cybersecurity response experts. You may be able to get those experts from TML or your cyber insurance carrier. But that can help you eradicate any malware, ransomware, and harden any systems before you begin to bring systems back online. And all of this information about these vendors and processes should be included in your incident response plan. And then the next step is to carefully recover your data and bring systems back online. And then, of course, monitor for any abnormalities in your environment. A cyber criminal assumes that a previous victim makes a good future victim. So stay vigilant and know that they may be coming after you again. So we did want to offer up a special offer for our internal and external penetration testing. So for smaller organizations that have up to 125 IP addresses, we can do that for a limited time offer of $24.99. If you have more IP addresses than that, we can also offer up special discounts. So reach out to Jeremy or myself or Ryan for that information. And then here's a list of resources. I'll make sure to send this as part of the recap. So we'll do that. So now let's go to the Q&A.
Thank you, David. I didn't see many during. I was curious when David said put a 3 in chat if you're backing up your M365 data somewhere else. I only saw 3 that were not Ryan Young. So if you would, if anyone would know or share, or if you don't know, let us know if you don't know. I think that was something that shocked me, was to find out that Microsoft is not backing up our M365 data.
Yeah, I think the key to that is that there's a shared responsibility model when it comes to Microsoft 365, right? So your data is your data, and you're responsible for backing it up, right? Microsoft is making it highly available to you. They're making the applications highly available to you, but they're not backing up your data. So now the likelihood of your data being deleted by Microsoft is very low, but it's a lot higher for your users to either accidentally or purposely deleting data, right? So it's happened, quite a few times, and when you don't have a backup of that, it can be very painful. So. What else? What other questions came up from that one? Anything there? All right. Well, hopefully everybody found that useful.